Sam from Cultaholic, and this is Graded for Friday Night SmackDown, where I take a look at the show segment by segment and award each little bit a grade from A+ to F. We have a very packed show this week, including the return of Firefly Fun House, so without any further ado, let's get on with it. So the show opens this week with AJ Styles' Intercontinental Championship win celebration. Renee Young is in the ring, and there are many members of the roster, all sort of lumberjack style around the ring itself, as well as, of course, the few people they've got in the audience. As he's about to be presented his title from Renee, he's like, "Whoa, Renee, hold up. There's only one person here who's actually qualified enough to give me this belt, and that man is Daniel Bryan." He points to Bryan. Bryan is at ringside. Bryan tries to be diplomatic, but Styles wants him to congratulate him and to actually physically put the belt around his waist and fasten it. Bryan obliges him, but then decides to cut a promo on him. He makes Bryan get on the mic to congratulate him. Bryan sarcastically congratulates him and then suggests maybe he should defend his title. There's a lot of people around, especially people around the ring, who would love a shot at the Intercontinental belt. Styles then echoes his sentiment from I think last week, where he's like, "I don't give handouts, and the next person to come out and run their mouth is going to deal with the consequences." And this is where we need to pause for a second, because the person who comes out is Matt Riddle. The current accusations levied against Matt Riddle are indicative of a deep-rooted problem within the wrestling industry itself. Given the circumstances, it would be very wrong of us to sit here and jovially look at and discuss the things in the manner we usually would, and so for that reason, this and the next segment will be succinctly summarised, and it will not receive a grade. So as I said, Matt Riddle debuts, he then beats AJ Styles in a non-title match. Moving on. We then go backstage for a Jeff Hardy sit-down interview, and he's mainly discussing his struggles. He says that he just wants to turn his life around and move on from all of the bad things, but it's always going to be a part of him. He says that Sheamus is capable of just bringing up all of these things that he really doesn't like about himself, and the fact of the matter is that Sheamus doesn't really have a problem with Jeff Hardy. Sheamus has a problem with Sheamus. He's just taking it out on Jeff Hardy because he's an easy target. And next we have Shorty G backstage. He's literally about to head through the curtain. He stopped for a couple of questions, and then Mojo Rawley appears from behind. He mentions Mojo. He doesn't even turn around and look, and then he just swings and turns into it, like punches Mojo in the face. Mojo is caught completely off guard. He falls down. Shorty G goes through the curtain, and then we get a break. So when we come back, Mojo is of course angry about getting hit, so he's straight on top of Shorty G. He's trying not to give him any breathing room. Shorty then fights back, he hits a beautiful suplex, and this is sort of how this match dynamic works. Mojo is on top of him, really just trying to keep him grounded and in one position because he knows how much of a credible threat he is. Shorty G will escape, but then he'll get quickly grounded again by Mojo. There are two beautiful suplexes, but eventually we get to a point where Shorty G comes off the top rope. He's going for a crossbody, but Mojo catches him squarely on his shoulders. He's then able to somehow, sort of jiggle his way around Mojo into a roll-up, and he picks up the win. Now, unfortunately, I'm only going to give this one a C. I really think that they really think that we don't remember that this was Sheamus's whole thing. I don't know what's going on, but we're having a retread of that. Mojo is just doing the exact same stuff. It needs to change. It really needs to change. I get that it's a story essentially about bullying, and it's a story that most people can relate to, but the fact we've already had it and they've just sort of slotted Mojo in there now, just put it on the back burner for a while, bring it out again in a couple of years maybe. Next up we have Miz TV, and this week's guest is Mandy Rose. Miz and Morrison open the segment by talking about their match at Backlash. They talk about how they were told that they were going to be able to be dual Universal Champion, and then right before the match it was changed so that only one of them could be Universal title. That rocked them, and they weren't able to focus. They essentially talked about being outnumbered. They really made a lot of excuses for Backlash. So they bring up Otis, and then they introduce this week's guest, which is, of course, as I said, Mandy Rose. They run Mandy down, they bring up Sonya, and then they're like, hold on, we've got a surprise for you. And then out comes Sonya Deville in the sharpest black suit you have ever seen in your life. So Mandy tells her, look, I am absolutely done with you. And Sonya is quite angry. She's like, I want the opportunities that you get. Sonya then continues to run her down, and she runs Otis down, and then Mandy jumps in. She's like, say what you want, but at least he's been loyal to me since day one. Sonya then keeps going. She says that she really wants this Mandy Rose treatment, but she realises that Mandy only gets treated this way because of how she looks. I think she actually looks her up and down or gestures like that. It's just really insulting. She gets really mad and she says, you know what, I'm going to take the one thing, I promise you I'll take the one thing that you love the most from you. And then a brawl between the pair breaks out. Sonya leaves, and as Mandy's trying to chase her, Miz and Morrison get in the way. Mandy slaps Miz, of course, because he's essentially just ambushed her on live TV there. It was a good segment. The 2020 might be the worst year on every record since time began, but it has given us one thing, and that is Sonya Deville ascending the throne to be, for my money, the strongest promo in the entire women's division of the entire company. And nobody was expecting this. It's been so organic. And just do yourself a favour, if you haven't been watching SmackDown and you tend to keep up with shows like Graded, just please dig out these promos, because I can't do them justice. Sonya Deville is next level, genuinely next level. I nearly forgot to give it a grade. How could I give it anything else other than an A? It was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Next up, we've got Lucha House Party versus The New Day, and Bayley and Banks come down to sit on commentary during the match. So Kofi and Lindsay start off. There's a lot of back and forth, a lot of reversals, a lot of flipping over the top of each other. It's really, really good pace to start this one. It's not long before Metalik and Big E take over. Lindsay gets in the ring, Big E hurls him to the outside, and then somehow Lucha House Party is able to throw New Day to the outside, and then they go to hit stereo dives, which sends us into the break. There's a fantastic moment here where Big E hits a belly to belly and Sasha and Bayley are just screaming, Bayley to belly, Bayley to belly. But Big E has Lindsay ground down, and even when he's able to escape, things like when he came off the top rope, he puts some distance between him, comes off the top rope, gets caught from a falling position, like he's coming in a crossbody, and then just gets planted and Big E nails him with a splash. I also want to note here that there was a beautiful springboard stunner from Lindsay. It was like Big E is so close to the rope, goes to Irish whip him, and somehow he's able to springboard stunner him, like a handspring and everything. It was liquid. It looked like that's just how he moves everywhere. Kofi gets in and cleans house a little bit. There's a great bit here with Metalik. You know, when he gets up in the corner and he's stepping around the corner like that, like he's turning. He goes to do that and then flip off. Kofi catches him with a super kick. Lucha House Party then almost have the match sealed. Big E breaks it up. They then manage to get back to a position again where they're about to hit a double team move. And again, Big E shoves them off the top. And then this allows New Day to hit I think it's called the up, up, down, down, you know, the double team thing they do, and pick up the win. But as soon as they've won the match, Nakamura and Cesaro storm the ring. There is a Cesaro swing into a Kinshasa, which I just thought was really inventive. Like Cesaro swung him round into the knee, which adds that extra speed and impact. That was, perfect. Next, we go backstage. I'm going to have to read this off my screen because my memory is terrible. We have Alexa, Dana, Tamina, Naomi, and Lacey, and they're talking back and forth about Sasha and Bayley. You know, who's next in line, who's going to challenge when, and then Dana's like, no, come on, we need to band together. If we want to put a stop to all this crap, we need to just band together, and then she's cut off by Alexa Bliss, who's like, where's Nikki? And they're all like, oh no. We then go backstage to Kayla Braxton, who's with Sheamus. Sheamus addresses the fact that Jeff Hardy has called him a bully. Sheamus is like, he's right, I am a bully, and people like Jeff Hardy deserve to be bullied. And then Sheamus announces that next week he's going to have an alcoholic toast to Jeff Hardy on SmackDown. We then go to ringside. Sasha and Bayley are about to go backstage when they're jumped by Nikki Cross. Alexa Bliss eventually comes out. There's a bit of a brawl happening, and eventually Nikki's like, come on, I want a match right now, I want to fight, and Bayley's like, okay, and shoves Sasha once again under the bus. So we go to break. When we come back, the match is already underway. Sasha is trying her hardest to beat Nikki down. There is a bit of back and forth on the outside with Sasha getting trapped in the apron, she baseball slides out and Nikki pulls the apron and traps her in it, starts attacking her. They go back in the ring, then it quickly spills back out and Nikki hits one of her crossbodies. I think, was it crossbody or cannonball off the apron? She came diving off the apron and wiped out Banks on the outside. Nikki back in the ring is then planted and Sasha starts trying to work over her neck and spine. Things build up to the corner where Nikki is able to hit a massive tornado DDT though. And then as quickly as it started, Nikki is put into a bank statement. She manages to escape it. There's a couple of inventive roll-ups back and forth, but Sasha's ultimately able to hit Meteora and force the pin. You know, when she proper pins somebody's legs right back and there's physically no way they can get out of it. That's what happens here. Now, I love the sort of Shawn Diesel thing going on here. I love that we have a possible storyline here with Bayley being challenged by all of these women only to be rebuffed every time by throwing Sasha Banks at the situation. She always gets away with it by throwing Sasha Banks, but eventually Sasha's going to beat all of those women and she's going to realise her worth and she's going to come knocking at Bayley's door. And as long as they do this properly, if this is what they're going for, I think it can be a really good storyline. On the match itself, I'm going to give a B+ because it was explosive in all the right places and it was filled with entertaining spots. And finally, we get to tonight's main event slot, which is a brand new episode of Firefly Fun House. So Bray welcomes us and he tells us that in his absence he's been doing all sorts of amazing things, including learning how to knit, he chased down some reptilians, and he's learned how to resurrect the dead. Rabbit then appears and reminds Bray about his painful loss to Braun Strowman, but Bray's like, you know what, no, I've realised something. I went about this the entirely wrong way. Braun then comes down to the ring, he needs to talk to Bray, he's had enough, and he's like, Bray, come on, this is it, it's over, it's done, I beat you, there's no more. And Bray's like, you know what, I wasn't really joking about being able to reanimate the dead. He says our story is just getting started, and then we get the old school Wyatt family flashes. We cut to, I think, probably one of the promotional videos from around the time that Braun joined the family, because they're all there and the chair's empty and they're all waiting in the shack for Wyatt. And then when we eventually cut back to Funhouse, Bray is, I'm assuming, through the door in the dark space that exists, the one John Cena walked into before their match at WrestleMania. And he's not current Bray, he's old cult leader, swamp gas Bray Wyatt. We then get the cherry on the icing on the cake just before the show ends. Bray says the line, "What's the matter, brother? You look like you've seen a ghost." And then he tells him to follow the buzzards, and that's it. Oh, that was just, it was so good. It was so very good. It gets an A. How could it not get an A? The idea of Bray rectifying his mistake, he missed an opportunity for an even more sinister mind game than he'd planned, and that was to exploit the fact that Braun probably still harbours some very raw emotions toward Bray, and going back to how he used to look will bring out those emotions a little bit more, maybe make him a little bit more likely to take some risks that may make him drop the belt. I guess we'll see. It was super out of the box. It was not what I was expecting. I don't think it was what anybody was expecting. I don't think we were ever expecting to see cult leader Bray Wyatt again, if not for a very long time. But what a promo to close out the show. It was fantastic. And in terms of an overall grade this week, I think I'm going to have to give the show an A-. There was a really strong showing between the New Day and Lucha House Party. We had some more developments between Bayley and Sasha Banks, more throwing Sasha under the bus. We've got the women wanting to challenge and put a stop to them both. That's also like an interesting dynamic there that's going to be really cool to explore. We had an astonishing showing from Mandy and Sonya during Miz TV, and now we've got cult leader Bray Wyatt back to eat Braun Strowman's world in probably the most unexpected return of the year. But that was this week's SmackDown. What did you guys think? Let us know in the comments below.